So hard substances are usually hidden in business or passenger cars passing through official checks. However, in recent years, organized crime groups have begun to test a variety of novel means of transporting illicit merchandise across borders and into neighboring countries. So, do you want to know the methods that these cartels have recently been employing? If so, then of course, stay tuned. Before we dive right in though, let's maybe give a like, subscribe to the channel, click the bell icon, all that fun stuff. Alright, thanks for doing that. Unless you didn't, in which case, ow. Let's dive right in. The first on my list is tunnels. In 1990, the first narco tunnel from Mexico to the United States was uncovered. The tunnel, which spanned 273 feet from a luxurious residence in Agua Prieta, Mexico, to a warehouse in Arizona, was fitted with electric lighting, a drainage system, and a trolley for transporting the cokes. According to U.S. anti-coke officials, access to the tunnel on the Mexican side was granted by a U.S. anti-coke official quoted in the newspaper. A secret switch inside the luxurious residence that, when activated, boosted a pool table and a concrete slab below it high into the air to open the door to a narrow shaft down below. Since then, hundreds of other tunnels along the border have been discovered, many of them incomplete and then tied to the Sinaloa cartel. Joaquin El Chapo Guzman, the organization's senior head, famously escaped from a maximum security jail in July 2015 via an ingenious mile-long tunnel. In April 2016, one of the largest narco tunnels ever unearthed in the United States was uncovered. According to the San Diego Union Tribune, it was equipped with lights, rails, a ventilation system. It was stretched half a mile from a residence in Tijuana, Mexico, to an industrial property in the San Diego area. According to authorities, the tunnel was not likely used to transport numerous tons of cokes, including marijuana and cocaine. According to all the indicators, this method of transporting narcotics across the borders will continue to be popular. The next are catapults. Yes, god-dang catapults. Another ancient tool repurposed for modern usage, doesn't appear to have been adopted with the same passion as the tunnel for coke trafficking organizations, unfortunately anyways. However, there's at least one reported example in which accused smugglers appear to load packets of marijuana into a big old device on the Mexican side of the border and just launch them into the United States, as captured on grainy surveillance camera footage. According to the Associated Press, the catapult can launch more than 4 pounds of marijuana across the border at once. In recent years, Mexican authorities have uncovered several other catapults being used for coke trafficking. However, because of their slowness and their inaccuracy, these machines are unlikely to become widely used to carry cokes across the border. Another method is a cannon. The flaws in the catapult approach have not discouraged people from shooting drugs across the wall. Authorities in Sonora, Mexico have recently uncovered a truck adapted to act as a mobile air cannon capable of launching coke bundles across the border. It's unclear whether the device, which Fusion described as looking like it came straight out of a Mad Max movie, was actually used or if it even worked as intended. Other cases of coke traffickers using cannons to hurl cocaine across the border have been documented, holding a truck-mounted weapon discovered by Mexican officials in 2013. However, because of their slightly outlandish appearance and the significant amount of labor required to develop and operate them, such contraptions are unlikely to be widely used by human trafficking organizations. Another way is narco ambulances. Criminal gangs have used ambulances to smuggle cocaine and marijuana in various nations in the region, taking advantage of the minimal likelihood that police will arrest emergency vehicles, especially in border areas. In April, the Gendarmerie in Argentina halted an ambulance and discovered 400 kilograms of marijuana secreted in a hidden compartment. The suspects went so far as to have an actual fictitious patient with them. Authorities busted at international organizations that allegedly sneaked up on 4 shipments of marijuana into Argentina every month from Paraguay, one of the region's most prolific producers of coke, months later. Argentina, though, is not alone. Authorities recently discovered a smuggling organization that employed ambulances in Colombia's La Guajira district, which borders Venezuela. It allegedly charged $500 per kilogram of cocaine for its members to transport the narcotics to the Caribbean shore, where it would then be exported. Next up, we got the Ant Plan in buses. When the so-called Ant Plan is employed to transport narcotics, it generally relies on coke mules flying it by air, which often involves dividing shipments up into very small batches. Tighter security at airports, on the other hand, has increasingly forced the practice onto land transportation, where restrictions are less strict. In August, a tragic bus accident outside Quito, Ecuador, ended the lives of 24 people and injured 22 others. However, the terrible deaths weren't the sole reason for the media's attention. According to authorities probing the tragedy, the bus contained more than 637 kilos of marijuana. A few months later, Colombian, Peruvian, and Chilean security agents worked together to eliminate the Beatles, or Los Escarabajos, a group that allegedly hired cyclists to smuggle marijuana out of Colombia. That journey took more than 20 days, and the group paid each biker almost $1,200. To avoid drawing the suspicion of security forces, the detained bikers cycled via more highly watched regions. The cokes were also carried via bus by the group. The paths taken by the Beatles and the narco bus are strikingly identical, and how the recruiters paid their respective mules and housing, food, and travel expenditures is also similar, which showed that they might be a part of the same criminal organization. Another way is camouflaging in legal shipments. Criminal gangs are still leveraging international trade to hide their illegal goods, from tropical flowers and commodities like pineapples, bananas, and mangosteen to Virgin Mary sculptures and World Cup replicas. Coke traffickers have done it all, and they hide their wares within things that are destined for export in cargo containers at ports all around Latin America. According to the report, information, corruption, and a lack of regulation in many of these ports, such as marine, air, and land, all of these are luring coke trafficking organizations to utilize them as platforms for selling their product in lucrative worldwide markets. Furthermore, authorities' incapacity to inspect the cargo, particularly at seaports, which handle a significant amount of foreign trade, means that they only investigate a small percentage of containers bound for Europe or the United States. Next is chemical masking. Since the days of Pablo Escobar, using chemical processes to alter the appearance of cocaine has been one of the cartel's most popular methods for transporting the narcotic. It's still a go-to method for criminal gangs and a nightmare for law enforcement. I mean, nearly 40 years have passed since the Colombian acid-washed jeans with cocaine dissolved in fabric were transported to the United States and eventually removed using a chemical technique. Chemical organizations are now using professional chemists to teach them new, innovative techniques to mix cocaine and other coke with lubricants, polymers, and metals, and more lately, pet food, in order to have them be transported unnoticed. Next is Ultralight Aircraft. For coke trafficking organizations based in Mexico, using planes to deliver coke across the U.S. border ain't nothing new. Late Juarez cartel chief Amado Carrillo Fuentes' organization used to ferry cokes from Mexico to the U.S. by using small planes, which is why he acquired the nickname the Lord of the Skies, El Señor de los Cielos, a decade ago, or multiple decades ago. However, trafficking organizations have recently begun to deploy ultralight aircraft and fly-by-night operations. These motorcycles are significantly smaller and slower than their full-size equivalents, and they're primarily used for recreation rather than transportation, which is because of their limited range. However, criminal gangs have been equipping ultralight aircraft with additional equipment like all-terrain landing gear and increased luggage space to improve their ability to transport illicit cargo across the border invisibly. Ultralight aircraft often fly close to the ground, making them very difficult to spot due to their small size and low altitude. In addition to requiring very little training to run, they're also very inexpensive and simple to manufacture, making them more appealing to human traffickers. Furthermore, this method can transport hundreds of pounds of coke at a single time. Ultralights are a cost-effective choice for enterprising smugglers, and officials anticipate that their use in coke trafficking are definitely going to continue, if not rise, in the future. Last up on my list for you is drones. The fast expansion of the market for commercially made unmanned aircraft system, also known as drones, have coincided with the rise in their use by coke traffickers. 2 men pled guilty in a U.S. court in August 2015 to receive a shipment containing 28 pounds of heroin flown across the border from Mexico using just a drone. And according to the Los Angeles Times, the case was the first cross-border seizure by U.S. law enforcement, employing the new smuggle-by-air strategy. Earlier that year, a drone carrying 6 pounds of meth crashed into Mexico just south of the border. According to Popular Mechanics, over 100 previous efforts have been used to try and get drones to be able to transport coke across the border. Drone-based coke trafficking, however, does have limitations, according to officials. Drones, according to the U.S. Enforcement Administration spokesperson Amy Roderick, will only allow a small number of cokes to be flown at a time, and that, combined with the ease of detection, doesn't make this method very profitable for those coke trafficking organizations whose motivation is money. I got you. That was a prank. The last one wasn't actually the last one. I just am evil. The actual last one is via truck. It is the most popular way of transportation, and I find it actually pretty interesting that this is the mode at which people are recruited to transport coke. One of the modes is through a computer game like GTA Online, Minecraft, Xbox Live, and Fortnite. If you're familiar with these games, you'll know that they're pretty popular places for kids to meet up with old friends and make new ones. According to a Forbes report, last year of November, Alyssa Navarro was driving a Jeep Cherokee when Customs and Border Protection officials in Arizona stopped her. That Jeep was happening to carry about 60 kilograms of meth on its way to Mexico. When she asked how she obtained all these narcotics and why she was driving with them, Navarro explained it all began when she met a man named George while playing GTA Online. Then they swapped Snapchat handles before meeting up in Phoenix. Navarro claims that they met in person, and George requested her to be a runner and transport electrical devices from Arizona to Mexico in a Jeep for $2,000 a trip, with a higher rate depending on how many electronics, quote-unquote, she delivered. She was then told to meet with Alfredo, a man who had been loading the Jeep with white powder and hidden them in the gasoline tank. She admitted that she was very uncomfortable, but hey, we all need money, and she went through with it. Currently, Navarro is being charged with possession as well as conspiracy to import and sell methamphetamine. During her court appearance last year, she pleads not guilty. However, the investigation is still ongoing. There was another case where 3 kids were allegedly recruited through the famous smartphone battle royale game Free Fire. According to media accounts, the minors were offered roughly $200 each week to be cartel lookouts. Individuals claiming to be members of various narcotics cartels, including the Sinaloa cartel, were also reported to be reaching out to youngsters late at night on games like the online multiplayer edition of Grand Theft Auto 5, which is a really unfortunate place for narcotics people to be. This is what all our parents are like, oh, don't do that, you're gonna sell drugs, you can't play GTA, you can't. And then now people are making it come true. They're giving us a bad rap, us gamers. Anyways, thanks for watching this video. Don't forget to drop a like, and yeah, it'd be cool if you could subscribe and hit the bell icon and stuff too. Ciao.